Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh once again. And by now it is common knowledge of the meeting that President Cyril Ramaphosa had with Donald Trump in the White House. And a lot of what was discussed is actually common knowledge. But one issue that we'd like to focus on is Elon Musk and also what are the ambitions for South Africa. Now, there are reports that indicate that the government is preparing to offer this billionaire a special exemption from the country's black ownership requirements to allow his satellite internet service to operate within the borders of South Africa. And we've already seen the reaction. Parties like the EFF, the African Transformation Movement, have condemned these talks, saying that the government is actually bending rules for Elon Musk's company. And they said that they would oppose it in parliament and on the streets. And this raises the question, and this is a question we are raising with Bilal Kathrada this morning, founder of IT University, talking about Starlink and the ambitions in South Africa. Is this a lifeline for the poor or a gateway to surveillance? Bilal, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Juma Mubarak to you.
Wa alaikum salam, Inayat, and Juma Mubarak to you too. Jazakallah for having me.
Yes, I'm not too sure whether we actually saw this discussion regarding Starlink actually coming up with the president's visit to Donald Trump. And just from your side, just listening to this discussion and getting a feel for what was discussed, just an overview by way of an introduction, Bilal.
Yeah, so with regard to, look, as far as the actual meeting itself, I saw snippets of it, but as far as the technology goes, the Starlink technology, look, there's no denying that is some brilliant technology there. I mean, recently I was on a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Doha, and throughout the flight we had blazing fast free internet thanks to Starlink. So it was amazing that I could use the time on the plane to get some work done, to have meetings with my team back in South Africa. I even recorded a video and uploaded it. It was incredible. So this is incredible technology that is easily accessible. It's freely accessible to everyone. So that's on one hand. And the question that you mentioned earlier, that is it a lifeline to the poor? The answer is possibly it's a lifeline, because it's my ambition and my dream to see every South African household having access to the internet. Because running an online institute like mine, one of the biggest challenges we face is that students don't have access to the internet, right? So we're talking about people in deep rural South Africa, people in some of the poorest areas. They don't have access to internet, and our internet access is very, very expensive. Data is expensive. So it's possibly a lifeline, but it also comes with overhead, because I mean, there is the possibility of misusing that technology for surveillance purposes, etc. So that's a decision we're going to have to make as South Africans. We're going to have to weigh the pros and cons of each.
Well, in fact, I was just about to mention the pros and cons of this technology, because I think for many who don't understand the technology, and Starlink in particular, what are some of the key issues or the salient issues that actually stand out, Bilal?
So one is, let's look at the pros, right? It's blazing fast internet. It's available instantly everywhere. So you could be in the middle of the Kalahari Desert without any cell phone towers near you, and you can get access to the internet. In terms of pricing, I don't know. I don't know what's the plan in South Africa, how much to charge, but this is a fact that we are paying up till today too much for data in South Africa. I mean, if you just compare South Africa versus Zambia, and you look at MTN's price of data in South Africa versus Zambia, in Zambia is much cheaper. Zambians are paying for MTN data, I'm talking about, not some other network. And the reasons for that I can't understand. So data is expensive. It's intermittent. It's hard to get. I mean, talk about driving from Durban to Johannesburg national highway and how many interruptions you get. So there's issues there. Starlink is different in a sense that it's available everywhere all the time. It's very steady internet. I don't know, like I said earlier, I don't know what price they're going to charge for it. The cons obviously is that we don't know how much they're going to charge for it. We don't know what is their long-term ambition with this technology. And typically when it comes to American technologies, you don't know where you stand with them. I mean, we've experienced that a lot in the past, but nonetheless, it's a good technology.
Well, obviously there are pros, but let's just talk about the cons. And I want to focus a few minutes on this whole issue about gateway to surveillance. And I don't know much about, but perhaps, Bilal, if you'd like to just expand a bit on, is there a risk as far as surveillance is concerned?
Yeah, look, anybody who owns that technology, any kind of access to the internet, any kind of social media chat app, have the ability to do surveillance, right? They can monitor your activities online. They can monitor your posts that you are putting, and they have that information. Is it something new with Starlink? No, absolutely not, because it's a well-known fact now that everything you do on the internet, pretty much, is being surveilled, and at the in the most uh, mundane, so in a manner of speaking, mundane applications is being used to advertise to you, but in more serious applications, it's being used to spy on people. It's being used to influence opinions. So that's the more on the more ominous part of the range of what they are capable of doing with it. So I think that the Starlink technology will look, there is going to be monitoring and surveillance there, let's face it. But I don't think it's something new. It's already happening. It has been happening for decades, ever since people started using the internet and even phones. It's going to be there. Now, what does it mean surveilling, right? Let me explain that. It's this, that let's say you connect to an internet service provider and you're getting data from them. Basically, all the activities you are doing on your device, as much as they say there's privacy, it is visible potentially to the service provider. So which sites you browse, what kind of messages you put out, what kind of information you put out, what kind of information you are watching, these are all available because that traffic that you are part of is being controlled by them. Think of it like a highway, right? So somebody standing on a bridge and looking at the cars that are passing in the highway. That's the analogy of the data that's going through the service provider. They can see everything, so they can pull out any data they want. They can single out a person or people who are using that internet, and they can use it any way they want. So the decision we have to make, and I always say this, the decision we have to make as people using the internet, as people who are using social media and chat apps, is that don't be naive. You know what is the potential of this. So use it wisely. Use it being informed that your data is potentially being monitored.
Yes, but also, we are living obviously in this digital age, and with the artificial intelligence revolution that is taking place as well. And I've just read somewhere talking about how AI is actually being abused to a large extent as well. We see a lot of fake information coming through as a result of artificial intelligence. So one obviously needs to take cognizance, and one needs to also consider that as well, Bilal, because I mean, even with a company like Starlink, in the event of Starlink coming into South Africa, The whole political debate is another discussion on its own, on the whole question on constitutionally, things like BEE, Elon Musk being allowed to come through, pending BEE rules as well, but also looking at some of the other internet service providers. How is this likely possibly to impact on them as well?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, you touch on a couple of things there. AI. I think AI is a whole different discussion. Maybe we can have a different discussion about that. When I was in Malaysia, there was, I did a webinar on AI and the Muslim child, but I think it applies to everybody. So perhaps in the near future we can discuss that. But coming to the current service providers in South Africa, I think they're gonna take a very big knock because of Starlink. Because if Starlink comes in cheaper, it's like uh, your TV stations versus Netflix, for example. I mean, Netflix is so cheap that the TV stations can't compete, and the technology is so convenient that they just can't compete. I mean, why should you wait for your shows to come when on Netflix you can watch it on demand? So the service is better, the prices are cheaper. I don't see how our local service providers are going to ride this, but there's a dark side to this whole thing, which we have to be aware of and we have to be careful of. If, let's say, assuming the whole country moves to Starlink, we are now completely dependent on one service provider to provide internet to our whole country. And at a flick of a switch, they can send the whole country into darkness. As far as the internet goes, they can shut off our internet access. So we are giving away certain amount of our autonomy, and that's the part that scares me the most. That, just like with sanctions, just on somebody's whim, they can cut off our internet access and our access uh, to data, our access to business, everything with one flick of a switch. So I think that we need to be careful who we trust with this kind of access, and I would like to see more of a choice rather than a monopoly in the data space. Because look, Americans love their monopoly. They love their, to have the grip on the whole world's economies and technologies. So but we have to be aware of what power we're giving them when we're using their internet access.
It's actually quite scary because, in a nutshell, what you're actually saying is, with the flick of a switch, you can actually shut an entire country down, Bilal.
True. That's the power of Starlink. Look, there's a Chinese competitor coming out. That's what I heard about. I don't know when, but until now, the only real viable product on the market, the satellite internet product on the market, is Starlink.
Well, we're hoping that the government seriously takes what you've said into consideration, and I'm hoping they do, Bilal, because, like, as you mentioned, the pros and cons, and it could have disastrous consequences. On the other hand, you've got a government that talks about being pro-poor and making the internet affordable to the greater population in this country as well. A really tough call, Bilal.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tough call, but I think it's possible to make the best use of it without blanket rulings. I think we need to be careful of being just too optimistic or too pessimistic about everything. We need to look at the pros and cons. Take the good, leave the bad. Um, I think we need to. I mean, if I were given the option, I would say, okay, this is one among many choices. I would say price yourself, similar to the others. That's a kind of rule I'll impose on them, and I would make sure that we have fail safes, that we have backups. That if Trump wakes up one morning and says, "Well, I'm going to put South Africa in the dark, and not give them internet anymore," then we are not completely crippled. That we have the ability to still connect to the internet because of our own internal infrastructure that is still available. I would do that, but also I would warn as government, I would warn the local service providers, right? not sort of threatening kind of way, but in a business sense, that guys, you need to come to the table. You need to reduce your rates. You need to improve your quality of service, because there's a big competitor coming on board, and we want you guys to survive, but it's up to you. So you can't be charging, for example, 80 rand per gig of data when Starlink is charging 5 rand per gig. You'll be priced out of the market. So that's my advice to the internet service providers, to our telcos, to the Vodacoms and MTNs and telecoms of the country, that you are homegrown brands. When we don't want you to take a knock, but you need to become competitive for your own survival.
Well, Bilal, we're going to have to leave it at that, but I'm going to hold you to the discussion on AI and the Muslim child, inshallah. We hope that pretty soon we'll be able to connect once again. But for now, we thank you. We say Jazakallah for your time and have yourself a great Jummah, inshallah.
Inshallah, you too, Inayat.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Bilal Kathrada, founder of IT Varsity, with us this morning. A very, very interesting discussion. And we need to obviously think very, very carefully in terms of what Bilal has actually articulated this morning with us right here on Salam Media. And we'll definitely will watch the space. We will take the discussion further as well. And as and when, let's see what the government actually does, and particularly looking at Starlink and Elon Musk. And I'm just looking at a message that's come through. Ben Pierpoint says, crap, our service providers mint it and they cannot service rural. Thank you for that comment, Ben. We're going to go for a quick break. We'll be back.